Eryk Anders, welcome back to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, appreciate you guys. I couldn't be doing better.
No doubt. I can imagine the emotions going through the big debut on Saturday night. Man, Tuscaloosa, following all the folks on Twitter, and I know you were in the Octagon, they were melting down, man. Former players chiming in, from Mark Ingram to Will Lowry to Mike Johnson, all your former teammates, man. They are tickled to death to see you move to that 1-0 undefeated record here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. You know, I was kind of taken back and surprised at all the people, reaching out to me and whatnot just before the show started.
Eryk, what was it like to get that phone call? And it was a very short notice. What was that like to get the call from the UFC to come up?
That's kind of what you're working so hard and, taking all these fights to do, No one wants to fight on a local promotion for their entire career. The objective is to make it to the UFC, and then not only to make it, but then to stay in the UFC, and then eventually become the champion of the division.
So when you get the phone call, you've got so many days to prepare. I mean, is it like walk us through what it was like to get that, and who made the phone call to you to come up?
Well, I've been working with a guy named Ed Cap for a while now. He's the PR guy for Iridium Sports. I was working with him before I became on the Iridium part of Iridium Sports Agency, and he wanted to tell my manager Jason House. He told him that he wanted to be the guy to give me the call. So he called me, gave me the great news, it's just a start to a long and prosperous career, and look forward to kicking the door down and, like I said earlier, becoming the champ of the division.
Right now, we're talking with Eryk Anders, former Crimson Tide player, as we're talking about the 8-0 overall record, 9-0 overall record, 1-0 of UFC, getting the big UFC debut this weekend. All right, so I heard them talking during the fight and sort of giving a scouting report. You're always breaking down film, man. I'm sure Nick Saban and all these guys trained you how to break down film, but you spotted something in your opponent. Talk about that, because you took advantage of it.
Yeah, we saw on film that he always switched from an orthodox stance, which is right-handed, to a southpaw stance, which is left-handed. Which a lot of guys do that, but Rafael in particular, whenever he was in a left-handed stance, he really only threw his lead hook. It was really the only strike, and some leg kicks were the only strikes that he really threw from that stance. So whenever I saw him in the left-handed stance, I knew I could only be hit with one thing. So it's a lot easier to calculate your next move when you only have to worry about one thing. So whenever he was in a left-handed stance, is when I generated most of my offense, which eventually led to a knockout.
Eryk, when you look at what is next, what is next? I mean, because obviously a lot of people right now, I'm reading a ton of articles on the UFC platform that were very impressed with, for one, a short notice, the performance that you had. What's next for Eryk Anders on the fighting side?
Man, I'm not sure. Me and my manager, Jason House, and my head coach, Chris Conley, are kind of looking at dates and events that the UFC has set up already, and looking at opponents, and, just waiting for that phone call to ring. And they'll let me know when and where I'm fighting.
Eryk, and this is probably pretty much equal, but are you more nervous prior to a fight or prior to a football game during your playing days at Alabama?
I'm not really nervous before any of them, because I'm very confident in my preparation, and I know that I'm ready when I'm stepping onto the field or in the cage. Then I'm more prepared than the opponent across from me.
Well, let me ask you this. Being on that big stage, 100,000 people at the University of Alabama watching you win football games, you look at the big stage, because to me that would be the part of maybe not letting the crowd take too much over. You want to play into them, but you don't want to let it sort of lose your focus. The big stage, how did that help you beat on the big stage in Tuscaloosa, help you in the UFC Octagon?
Man, just, being in a hostile environment. Like if you can perform in Tiger Stadium in triple overtime like we did in 2008, then there's really not an event. There's really not a venue or anything that's too big for you. So I got a lot of experience with in hostile territories, loud crowds and all that other good stuff to last me a lifetime and take into any other sport that I do other than football.
Eryk, do you hear a lot of Roll Tides?
No, man. I was actually kind of shocked. As I was walking out, people were yelling Roll Tide, and, they were also telling me that they had bet money on me and this and the third. But the amount of Alabama love that was out there was just astonishing.
You ever look back at when you arrived here in 2006 and you look at this Alabama brand? We were talking about it using the platform that you've got, getting a lot of Alabama love all over Twitter, all over the different networks talking about the fight. I mean, the Alabama publicity. I mean, you think about the brand of Alabama football, how Nick Saban has taken it, 2 or 3 notches up. Alabama football has always been king, but it's like it's taken a lot of steps forward in this publicity that they're receiving.
I think that's just a testament to the Alabama faithful. It's been 8 or 9 years since I played football, and people are still yelling Roll Tide, and a large fan base from the University of Alabama. So, they definitely remember their players and help them succeed in the next avenue past college football.
Eryk, where do you make your home? Where do you train out of?
I live in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
I train in Homewood.
Okay. And so going back, how did you get involved? What sparked the interest to get into MMA?
I'm just not the 9 to 5. I'm not a desk job kind of person. So after football ended, that's really the only avenue that I had left available, I thought. So, I tried that for a while and just bored and needed something to do, something physical to do. And walked into a gym and fell in love with the sport right then and there.
I'm just curious, have you had any conversations with Nick Saban about your professional career?
I haven't, but I plan on going to see him in the next coming week whenever I can break away from the gym and whatnot, and we'll go down there and have a conversation.
Well, he's a big boxing guy. I don't know if he's a big MMA guy, but I know he makes a lot of quotes from boxers. He uses a lot of that terminology. You hear him speaking. He refers to a lot of Muhammad Ali. I mean, he refers to a lot of different boxing stuff and different things. But let me ask you, Eryk, as we're about 10 days away from Alabama camp starting up, what's your favorite 2-a-day? 104, 105 degree favorite day of camp as we approach fall camp starting in about 10 days?
Definitely the last day. Once it's all over with and the season's about to begin, that makes it all worth it. And, it's kind of one of those things where it sucks while you're doing it, but then after it's done, that wasn't that bad. So that's kind of how camp goes. Kind of dread it while you're in it, but then when it's over with, it wasn't really too bad.
Eryk, let me ask you, when you look at Alabama football and you look at on that defensive side of the football, you look and you got to replace guys like Jonathan Allen, and you look at Marlon Humphrey now playing in the pros. You look at Reuben Foster out in San Francisco, Dalvin Tomlinson up in New York. You lose so much talent. How do you replace all that talent on that defensive side of the football?
Well, when I played, we had to replace guys like Rolando McClain and Terrence Cody and things like that. Coach Saban always finds a way to develop the guys that are coming up, and I think that's what he does better than anybody else in the country, and which is why he's playing for a championship every other year, is because of his ability to develop players, right? So you have a guy who's a freshman who's getting minimal playing time, but then all of a sudden he's starting as a sophomore, and he's a Buckets finalist or the Walker finalist or something, winning Heisman trophies and stuff like that. And it's because of the player development that they got going on over there.
Eryk, when you look at Alabama and you look at leadership, is this the time of the year, especially when camp starts up? Is this where leadership really starts to take its way with who's going to sort of be that alpha dog on that defensive side of the football and the offensive side?
Man, that kind of stuff kind of comes to light during camp. So you'll see somebody emerge during camp. That's when the leaders kind of come out and make themselves known. You need that guy to kind of help push everybody through practice when everybody's getting tired, once the second practice, been in meetings all day and whatnot. So that's when those guys kind of emerge, the guys who can persevere the most.
Hey, Eryk, my producer, Marquise Munson, has got a couple of questions here for you. He wants to jump into the conversation. Marquise, go ahead with Eryk Anders.
Hey, Eryk, like I said before, man, congratulations on your big victory in your first UFC debut. I got to ask, Mark Ingram is a huge UFC fan, so I'm pretty sure you got a text message from him about the victory.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, he was ecstatic. You know, he's a big MMA fan. Hopefully he's an Eryk Anders fan. And, you know, we played together at Bama, so, you know, he was pretty excited to have a guy that he knew and played and shared battle with in a previous sport to go out there and impress the way I did.
Since you were kind of a late entry in this fight and you're going against a guy with, 21 wins, how did you prepare yourself, because you're on short notice? How did you prepare yourself for this fight, especially when it comes to cutting weight and then having to kind of discover your opponent?
Man, I did everything the exact same, just an accelerated process, a lot more film studies because, I'm kind of cramming for the test instead of, taking the whole semester to prepare and study for it and whatnot. So the exact same process, just, a little bit faster.
As Mark Ingram tweeted in, and man, it was just a buzz of former players. Mark Ingram, he tweeted, "The sleeper" is what he called that knockout, and it was good night. I mean, it was goodbye, 2 left punches, and it was. He was on the turf, man. There was no way he was getting up, and even the finishing shot there at the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't think there's another caption that would work for it.